Coming up on iOS today, Rosemary Orchard and I, Mikah Sargent, talk about health apps and features for your iPhone, your iPad, and more. Stay tuned.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is iOS Today with Rosemary Orchard and Mikah Sargent, episode 664, recorded Tuesday, August 1st, 2023. iOS health apps and features. This episode of iOS Today is brought to you by Discourse, the online home for your community. Discourse makes it easy to have meaningful conversations and collaborate anytime, anywhere. Visit discourse.org/twit to get 1 month free on all self-serve plans. And by Brooklinen. Shop in-store or online at brooklinen.com today to give yourself the cooling sleep you deserve this summer. Use promo code iOS for $20 off your online purchase of $100 or more, plus free shipping on brooklinen.com. Welcome back to iOS Today, the show where we talk all things iOS and iPadOS and watchOS and tvOS and HomePodOS and all of the OSs that Apple puts out into the world. Yes, we talk about them on this show because our goal here is to help you make the most of those Apple-y devices you own, your iPads and your iPhones and your Apple Watches. You know, you invest in these products, and we want to make sure that you are finding the best apps for them, that you are finding all the features that you can possibly use, that you are aware of the settings that you can change. That is our goal here on iOS Today. I am one of your hosts, Mikah Sargent.
And I am Rosemary Orchard. I'm very happy to be here and talking about health things again, Mikah, because, we do this on a semi-regular basis because, staying happy and healthy is quite important to us, but also just because Apple keeps changing stuff. And it's really exciting that the health app this year in September is coming to the iPad, which is something it's not been on before. So you're going to be able to actually view all your health data on a bigger screen, on a better screen, maybe even. And, felt like a good time to check in on what's going on in the world of smart health.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, this has been, I think, a long time coming. I'm happy to finally see it here. It is something that I've wanted for a while because I'm pretty, into checking my health information and keeping track of my health information, and trying to make sure that, I just have some semblance of understanding of what might be going on. So coming to iPad, yes, there are also some new features that are going to be introduced in iOS 17, iPadOS 17. And while most folks are not going to see these new features until sometime probably next month, maybe in October, I did want to go ahead and talk about them because, of course, we talked about the public beta being available. So there are a number of folks who have been trying out this software, testing it to make sure it is ready to rock when the next iPhone launches sometime in September or October. So one of the new features that we talked a little bit about last time is the ability to track your sort of mental well-being. There's a new category in iOS that will help you to track your mental well-being. And this, of course, is a category that has several new features in it. But some of the features that are in it are, or rather the data that's in it is data that has existed elsewhere. So sleep, for example, is as much of a physical health as it is a mental health tracking metric. And state of mind and time in daylight are two new features in mental well-being. Exercise minutes, of course, are features that have long existed, but are considered part, again, of your mental well-being. So you can see that for some reason at 8:44 a.m., my Apple Watch tracked 1 minute of exercise. That was probably when I was running very quickly up and down the stairs to prepare myself for today's show. But that is a feature that's long been there. But time in daylight is one of the new features that has come. And time in daylight is a feature that when Apple talked about it on stage at WWDC, they sort of put it forward as a feature that was kind of a package mostly meant for kids. They talk about vision health in particular. And with children, there are things that we can do for our kids that we might not be able to do for ourselves, depending on our age, to help decrease the risk of myopia, meaning that it helps to improve our farsighted vision. And so one of those things that we know is not looking at stuff too closely in front of our eyes. If we have it very close in front of our eyes, then we are potentially sort of not working out the proper muscles and overworking other muscles. And that can lead to, again, myopia. Another thing is going outside and being outside in daylight for a certain period of time. And there are multiple reasons for this. It has to do with daylight, yes, but it also has to do with the fact that when we are outside versus inside, our vision is sort of working in the background to look at things that are very far away and things that are near. Whereas when you are inside, your vision typically doesn't go very far, particularly if you live in California or some other place where real estate is incredibly expensive. So my little box of an office, my vision is not doing a whole lot of work when it's getting to the end of the room in this space. So that, plus the fact that sunlight also is going to help your body with the production of vitamin D, all come together to make it a benefit to you and your mental health. So 20 minutes outdoors every day is what is recommended. If you can do more, that's better. And basically with the introduction of this feature for tracking, it will use your Apple Watch, which has an ambient light sensor built into it. And essentially, when it detects sunlight, then it will track that metric and use that as a way to determine if you've been in daylight. The other feature is state of mind. And we did talk about this. With state of mind, you have kind of two different metrics here, two different measurements here, rather. One is mood and the other is emotion. And these are kind of standardized terms. I talked about this too, in at least the United States for psychological just terminology. And a mood is something that kind of encapsulates your day. It's a way to describe how you felt over the course of a day, whereas an emotion is something that you're feeling in a specific moment. So this state of mind log will let you track both kinds. You tap log, and then you can choose log an emotion, how you feel right now, or log a mood, how you felt overall today. And when you go through it, so let's just go with how you feel right now at 9:21 a.m. You have a slider. I'm feeling very unpleasant. I'm feeling unpleasant. I'm feeling slightly unpleasant, neutral, slightly pleasant, pleasant, or very pleasant. So I'll put slightly pleasant. And then it will say, okay, well, what best describes how you're feeling right now? And you could choose from the options that are presented to you, or you can choose show more to see some of the negative ones, because maybe you're feeling a little anxious at the same time that you're feeling excited, because anxious and excited are not too far from one another, but you're also feeling passionate about what you're talking about in the moment, and you are feeling relieved that there's no strangeness with the audio board going on, and that everything is working as it's supposed to be. Then it's asking what's having the biggest impact on you in this moment. Well, I'm definitely going to say work, because that's what I'm doing right now. And you can even put in additional context. So I'll say iOS today. And then afterwards you can tap done. And now this is logged. And in the moment, obviously it is something that is not incredibly important, other than it is making you more mindful of how you're feeling at any given time. But what's great is that then you can look back and you can see how you've been tracking your mood and your emotions over the course of however long you've been doing this. And you can set up reminders for it as well. And when that all comes together, it gives you an idea of how maybe it's a specific time of day where your mood, or not mood, but rather your emotions shift, and you are feeling in this moment every day at 4 p.m. Suddenly you are feeling very unpleasant, and it turns out every day at 4 p.m. Is when the doorbell rings and your dogs try to go after who's at the door. I'm trying to think of something that would happen, kind of a recurring thing that could happen that would cause it. No, I've got a better one. Your every day at 4 p.m. you get a Slack message that says, let's schedule a meeting. We need to get together for this. And in your head, you're going, this could have been an email. So your mood drops. The point is you can kind of become aware of, oh, right, that stinking Slack message is what's causing this issue. And then maybe there's a way that you're able to handle that. Maybe you do convince them that it could have just been an email. And then the last thing I'll mention here with state of mind is that it also comes with the standardized mental health questionnaires for anxiety and depression. These you'll be prompted to fill these out if you opt in every once in a while, but you can also just go in at any time. So maybe, whenever you first set this up, you want to go in first and foremost and fill these out. And if you have ever been screened for anxiety or depression, they'll be familiar to you. If you haven't, they're very easy questions to answer. Well, easy in terms of it's not, you're not filling in the blank or anything like that. It's like in the past several days, how often have you had trouble sitting still such that other people would pick up on the fact that you are having trouble sitting still? Or in the past several days, how often have you felt down, depressed, or hopeless? Those kinds of things that are, and then you've got an option of no days or hardly any days, then several days, most days, or all the days. And then you choose from there. And then at the end, you get a score, and that score represents how much at risk you are for depression or anxiety. So these kind of come together to provide a better understanding of how you're doing. And I think this is great, not only in the short term, as this feature exists right now, but I think in the long term, as Apple continues to pay attention to health information and health tracking, and will, I'm sure at some point, start to pick out those trends for us. We've already seen Apple do health trend stuff. I'm looking forward to them going, hey, you, on the days where you only exercise for 10 minutes or you don't go outside for 20 minutes, those days you are reporting that your mood is lower than it is on the days whenever you do this. And then you go, oh, this actually does have an impact. It's real. And it helps you overall. So very much looking forward to these new features that are coming. But even though those features aren't coming until iOS 17, the Health app already has quite a few great features. And Rosemary, I was hoping you could kick things off on what features you want to talk about today.
Well, I mean, I don't think there's any one particular feature that I want to talk about because it really depends on you and your health needs in this moment and future health needs, be they temporary or permanent. Because, for example, if you have a flu or you have a cold or some kind of virus or something and you're not very well, then one of the things that you may want to do is do something like track your temperature for a while. Now, most people won't check their temperature every single day unless they're doing it, for example, to see whether or not they are ovulating for fertility purposes. But if you want to track your temperature, this is something you can do in the Health app. Now, it's important to note that you don't actually have to buy a physical gadget to be able to log data into the Health app. There is a way to just add data in the Health app, like as a manual data point. And also, I'll show you folks later a way to do this with shortcuts as well, which can be really handy if you've got, say, for example, a great scale that you're really happy with. You know, it's super accurate, but it's not a smart scale, so it doesn't sync that data to health. Or you've got a blood pressure cuff or a blood glucose monitor or something, and it doesn't sync that data. You can still get that data in there. So for folks who are curious, who are watching the video and we're like, what is this white thing that she's waving around? This is a Withings Thermo Smart Temporal Thermometer. And the way that you use it is you turn it on and then you run it over your forehead. So it lights up to start with. and then you run it over your forehead, which is probably going to get makeup all over it and all over me. And then it buzzes and then it tells you what your current temperature is. So it's saying mine's 38.2. I feel like that is probably a bit high because I'm sitting here under some lights right now. I swear it was not that warm when I tested it earlier. But this data will now sync via, so this is actually connected to the Wi-Fi. So this will just sync into my health kit via the app on my phone. And that's it. Very simple. And it can be very useful to be aware that there are gadgets that you can buy that will sync with the health app. But you don't have to buy those gadgets. You can just buy the dumb version and log your data, whatever it needs to be. So, for example, you can buy, I was looking at this on Amazon the other day, Mikah, a smart measuring tape, like specifically intended for measuring parts of your body, which if you're looking to try and lose weight and you're going to the gym, for example, maybe a better way to measure your success rather than weight, because muscle weighs more than fat. So if you are gaining a lot of muscle, then you may not see weight loss, but you would see a difference in the size of your body. But you don't have to buy the smart version. You can just use the dumb version off the shelf that you've got at home and then add that data in manually in the health app. And this is one of the things that I really do like about the health app. Like if the data goes into the health app, we know it's safe, it's secure, it's encrypted on our iPhones with the secure enclave, but we also can just add our own data in there as well, which can be very useful. And of course, don't forget, if you have data in there, for example, if you've been having some weird notifications from your Apple Watch about your heart health, and then you do a couple of ECGs and things are coming back maybe not quite normal, and you go see a doctor, you're able to share that information with them as well, because you can, of course, tap on it and show the person your iPhone or, as of September, October, an iPad screen, but you can also, for the ECGs at least, print those as a PDF so that you can actually print it onto physical paper or email it to them or something so that you can actually share that data. And data sharing is now a feature that's built into the health app so that, for example, if you have a friend or family member who needs to take medication on a regular basis, but may not always remember to, then you can actually keep an eye on them through the health app. So if they haven't taken it, then you can send them a gentle reminder to say, hey, I noticed that you didn't log the fact that you took your medications this morning. Can you go ahead and do that for me when you've taken them? Or whatever it is that works for your friend or family member. Obviously, different things work for different people. So I really encourage folks to dive into the health app. Just open up the health app on your phone, at least for the moment, as of October, or those of you who are brave enough to be running the beta, then you can try it on the iPad as well. And just open that Browse tab. And in the Browse tab, you will find a whole bunch of things. There's sleep, there's symptoms. So, for example, if you frequently find that you have changes in your sleep, then you can actually log changes to your sleep. And on any page, it's just the Add Data button in the top right. And then it should just be the ability to add information. So in this particular case, I'm waving my phone at the camera because for some reason my phone is not wanting to show up on screen today. It turns invisible when I do that. But for sleep changes, I get the ability to log that sleep changes were present or not present, and then it automatically inputs the current date and time as the start and end for that. So for example, if I noticed that I was unusually sleepy at this point in the day, then I could log that as sleep changes being present. And this goes through for anything. So if you just tap on one of those items, for example, mobility, then you can, or mental health, which Mike has already shown you, or medications, then you can actually, just go ahead and log something as taken when appropriate. And if you set up cycle tracking, so cycle tracking is something that you want to have enabled in health, then you can log that data in there as well, which is very useful, especially as it turns out that some of those apps were attempting to sell all of that data, which very personal information. Don't really want my health data sold randomly to the highest/lowest bidder on the internet. Don't know about you, Mikah, but that feels very icky.
Yeah, not ideal. So we have a lot more to talk about here, and I want to get to that. But we do need to take a quick break, and I am excited for this new sponsor here on iOS Today. The new sponsor is Discourse, who are bringing you this episode of iOS Today. For more than a decade, Discourse has made it their mission to make the internet a better place for online communities. They harness the power of discussion, real-time chat, and also AI. And with all of that, Discourse makes it easy to have meaningful conversations and collaborate with your community wherever you happen to be at any time that you want to chat with folks. And if you out there would like to create a community, well, it's very easy. If you visit discourse.org/twit, you can get 1 month free on all self-serve plans. Now, Discourse is a trusted means of creating a community. It's trusted by some of the largest companies in the world. It's open source and it powers more than 20,000 online communities, including twit.community. Whether you're just starting out or you want to take your community to the next level, there's a plan for you. There's a basic plan for a private invite-only community. There's a standard plan if you want unlimited members and a public presence. There's a business plan for active customer support communities. All of those are available. Jonathan Bulova, a developer advocate at Twitch, says Discourse is the most amazing thing we have ever used. We have never experienced software so reliable, ever. Yeah, that's huge. Twitch is huge. So to say that about Discourse is really incredible. One of the biggest advantages to creating your own community with Discourse is that you own your own data. You will always have access to all of your conversation history, and Discourse will never sell your data to advertisers. Discourse gives you everything you need in one place. So make Discourse the online home for your community. Again, if you want to kind of check it out, head to twit.community, which is a discourse discussion forum. So yes, we ourselves have created a community using Discourse. You out there can start your own community. Visit discourse.org/twit to get 1 month free on all self-serve plans. That's discourse.org/twit. And of course, we thank Discourse for sponsoring this week's episode of iOS Today. All right, we are back from the break and we are talking health apps and features. The next thing that I want to talk about is something that I think everybody should do at some point. And if you have done it before but haven't done it in a while, it's not a bad idea to hop back in and check this out again. So here I am in the health app, and down at the bottom, there are 3 options. There's summary on the far left, sharing in the middle, and browse on the far right. Now, you can access the page that I'm going to show you from a couple of these, if not all 3 of these pages, but the other ones have my private health data on them. So I'm doing it from the browse page. Up in the top right corner of the browse page, you will see a little avatar that represents you. And if you tap on that, up will come a bunch of different options, including features, privacy, and then, of course, your own medical ID and health details. What I think everyone should click on or tap on is Health Checklist. When you tap on Health Checklist, it is going to give you the information that you need to make sure you're using as many of the kind of provided and active health and safety features that iOS, or in the new world, iPadOS offers. So medical ID, which will give first responders information in an emergency. It has, information about whether you're an organ donor, who your emergency contacts are, if you have any drug allergies, that kind of stuff. Emergency SOS, which we've talked about many times, which will, of course, contact emergency services and also let your emergency contacts know that there's something going on. Crash detection. If you do have that feature available, then crash detection, it'll talk talk about that and show you how to set it up if you don't. And what I love too is that it also has a little bit of information about the devices on which it is running. So in this case, it is running on my iPhone and Apple Watch, which are both being used for crash detection, fall detection, which is just an Apple Watch feature. And you'll notice that it even has the type of fall detection turned on that I have, which is I only want you to do fall detection during workouts. That's actually a recommended setting for folks below a certain age or mobility group, and then after that, then they suggest turning it on elsewhere. Low heart rate notifications. So if my heart rate were to fall below 40 beats per minute, then I'll get a notification if it's that at that speed for at least 10 minutes. High heart rate notifications. If it's at 120 beats per minute for more than 10 minutes while I'm inactive, then it will send that. And then, of course, irregular rhythm notifications are on as well. And so are the ECG app. So that's the electrocardiogram app of the Apple Watch, cardio fitness notifications, blood oxygen measurements, walking steadiness notifications, headphone notifications, noise notifications. The only thing that I have turned off is AFib history. And that is because AFib history is for folks who have been diagnosed with AFib, atrial fibrillation. If you do not have atrial fibrillation, you would not have this feature turned on. Instead, you would have irregular heartbeat notifications turned on. So you don't get to have both irregular rhythm and AFib turned on at the same time because AFib is an irregular rhythm. And therefore, once you've been diagnosed, you would track when you've been in periods of AFib instead of tracking whether or not you are having irregular rhythms. So everyone should go to that health checklist. That way you can tap through and set everything up if you don't have it all set up and learn about some of the features. Maybe there are some features that you do or don't want. All of that is there and well worth checking out. All right, Rosemary, back to you.
Well, I did want to just give two other recommendations for devices that you can use that will connect to Apple's Health Kit. And so if you're ever wondering if you're looking at, say, like a smart device somewhere and you're wondering if it connects to Apple Health Kit and you can't immediately see it on the box, don't rule it out. That doesn't mean it doesn't. What I would always do if you're looking at something, like I had this the other day, my parents were asking me, hey, does this blood oxygen monitor that we've got like sync the data into that health thingy that you always talk about? My parents definitely pay attention to what I'm talking about, but they also know that if it goes into the health app, it's nice and safe. So they remembered that. And I was able to look at the app on the App Store and find out that in the privacy section, it showed that it had access or wanted access to Apple Health data, which means that there's a fairly good chance, it's not 100% guaranteed, but there's a fairly good chance that it's going to sync data both to it and get data from it. So for example, my Hydrate Spark tumbler that I've got here, which just lit up a nice rainbow to remind me that I should have a drink, will actually sync my my water intake into the health app. And that is listed in the App Store under the permissions that it wants access to the health data on your phone. So that's, this is not one of the recommendations that I've written down, but I have to say the Hydrate Spark stuff has been working very well for me. I've really been enjoying it. But the two products that I wanted to recommend, because they've been great both for me and for family members, is the Withings Sleep Analyzer. And also an Omron RS7 automatic wrist blood pressure monitor. So if you find that you don't sleep very well, maybe with an Apple Watch on, or you don't have an Apple Watch, or you just forget to put it on sometimes to go to sleep, but you really would like some more sleep data, and you don't want to necessarily invest in like a whole mattress or a bed to do sleep tracking, which obviously 8 Sleep are a sponsor here on Twit. And, if you want to go all in on the sleep data like Mikah does, then that's great. You should definitely do that. If you're looking just to get a bit more data to get yourself started, the Withings Sleep Analyzer, it's a little sort of inflatable pressure pad, essentially, and it goes between your mattress and the base. And so you won't feel it, Princess and the Pea, trust me, I always find the peas. I have not found peas with this. When you plug it in, like inflate itself, kind of like a blood pressure cuff, but then it tracks your sleep data for you. And oh my gosh, I have to say, super great data. I really love comparing the data between this, my Apple Watch, and my Oura, because, I'll forget to wear my Apple Watch or my Oura, or have to leave them on charge overnight sometimes. And this is it's always in bed. So it's always going to get that data for me. And so, yeah, this is a nice option. It's $99.95 on Withings or in the Apple Store. But it's worth looking out for, and sometimes goes on sale for Prime Day. And the other one I mentioned is the Omron RS7 wrist blood pressure monitor. Now, I don't have that here with me, unfortunately, but it kind of looks like, if you imagine like a 90s style pager stuck to your wrist, it kind of looks like that, only you don't have to wear it all the time. And so you pop it on your wrist, and you can press the buttons and off it goes. It will do a blood pressure reading and log that data into HealthKit. And this has been really useful. Now, I am aware that wrist blood pressure versus upper arm blood pressure can vary. The most important thing when you are doing anything like this is consistency. It's the same as weighing yourself, right? If you weigh yourself as soon as you've got up and gone to the bathroom every morning before you put your clothes on, then you don't have to account for the fact that one day you were wearing hiking boots and heavy jeans that were soaked in water, and the next day you were wearing a bikini or whatever floats your boat. It's consistency. So by consistently using the same machine and measuring your data in the same way, you will get results that can mean something, even if they are not necessarily exactly the same as what a doctor or a hospital would find. If there's a variation in the data that you're collecting and it is unusual, then consult a medical professional. And this is honestly what a lot of this stuff is all about. It's about being aware of what your normals are so that when things aren't normal, you know about it.
That's perfectly put. That is perfectly put. The device that I wanted to talk about is the Kardia Alive. Well, it's called the Alivecor KardiaMobile. It is made by the company Kardia. Although it's kind of confusing because then they also have the thing that says Kardia by Alivecor. The point is, it's this tiny little device that is also an electrocardiogram measurer. And like Rosemary was talking about, where she has at least 3 devices that are tracking her sleep, I find it's good to have a few devices to use to kind of compare, but also I won't say this is the truth in every case, but in many cases, a purpose-built device is going to be more accurate, more direct, more focused, and hopefully better at being able to track a specific metric. And so this little device is for tracking or for doing ECG measurements. Now, this has 2 settings or 2 options for tracking. There's the standard tracking, which is where, and let me there is the single lead EKG tracking, which is where you put a finger from your left hand and a finger from your right hand on these front 2 pads. And then there's an entire 6 lead EKG measurement, which is where you do the same on the front, where one finger on the left, one finger on the right, but the back goes on like your knee or some other spot, or your ankle is also another spot that you can put it. And so it will be able to do that full 6 lead EKG. But let me show you. So this is the single lead EKG tracker. I'm placing the EKG device on my desk, and then I'm taking a finger from my left hand and a finger from my right hand, and I'm placing them on the 2 pads, and watch what happens. You will see, if you're watching, the left hand and right hand little dots light up and it initializes, and then you're meant to sit very still because, of course, this is tracking electrical measurements, right? And if you move your arms a lot, then it will pick up the electrical signals that your brain, your nervous system rather, is sending into your muscles, and it will kind of get in the way of the heart, the electronics of the heart. So I'm trying to sit very still, and okay, so it shows a normal sinus rhythm, and that information is something that you can kind of gather at any time. You'll notice that my heart rate is rather high at the moment, despite the fact that I'm just sitting still. But that is the Kardia Alivecor device, and I've used the 6-lead EKG in the past for tracking. I got this after I was having some heart issues that ended up being a diet problem, problem with some of the stuff that I was eating, and so I kind of needed to keep track of what my heart was doing and why. And this was helpful in doing that. So that's the Alivecor KardiaMobile. The version that I have with the 6-lead EKG is $129. It was not inexpensive, but if you have a flexible saving account through your work or some other means, and these often can be purchased with your FSA. So that could be something that you consider doing. There are two other options: the $79 KardiaMobile, which does 2-lead, and then the $99 KardiaMobile Card, which is just a single lead as well. I said 2-lead, I think, but it's just the 79 and the 99 are single lead options. And that card version is just really nice for slipping into, a bag or something. So this is particularly helpful for folks with AFib or some other irregular rhythm that they need to keep track of. Yeah, that's going to do it for me. Rosemary, I think you've got one other device you wanted to mention.
Yeah, I do, because a lot of folks who watch iOS today either themselves or have friends and family members who find that an Apple Watch is pretty pricey. Now, there are, of course, options to buy things like from the Apple Refurb store, which I would always recommend folks check out. If you scroll down to the bottom of the Apple Store page, then there's a refurbished section. And of course, there's the Apple Watch SE. But even that, we're still talking a couple of $100s here. That's kind of pricey. So a lot of folks have asked me previously if I could recommend an alternative to an Apple Watch that's kind of like a smartwatch, but they mostly just want it for like fitness tracking. And so I have been for the last couple of months testing the Mi Smartband 7. Now this, it kind of looks a little bit like a Fitbit, but it's not owned by Fitbit, so you don't have, the data going there. This is just a smart band health tracker, and it retails for $46. So it can do heart rate tracking. It has breathe options in it, so it can sort of tap your wrist to help you breathe in time. It's a little difficult to show off the screen here. It will do blood oxygen monitoring, heart rate monitoring. It can control playback on your phone, and also help you take pictures and so on. And it's got a whole bunch of other options built in there as well, like workout tracking, things like that, stress management, and alarms, events, and so on. Now, this isn't perfect. It is $46, so you aren't expecting something that's the same quality as the Apple Watch. For example, there's the option to turn on reminders for calendar events 1 minute before, which seems great until you realize you can't filter your calendars. And my dad puts everything that he's doing in his calendar, and that's shared with me. So I was getting a reminder of 1 minute before every single time that he had something in his calendar until I disabled that feature, which was very frustrating for me. So you want to go through and play with things, but it will even do things like show up notifications that you get on your watch when they come through. And so, yeah, this is definitely something that is worth checking out. So Xiaomi are a well-known Chinese brand who make a lot of smart home and smart tech products. They have their own line of Android phones as well, which I have tried pairing this with Android phones. Yeah, it seems to work just great with them as well and sync data to the Google Health equivalent. But it does sleep monitoring. It tracks 110 sports. It's water resistant. Battery life, it says 14 days. I found realistically, once you've turned on the features that you want, it's going to be more like 5 days to a week. But that's still pretty good going. And it's got a little magnetic charger on the back as well. So yeah, if you are looking for something to help you track your health and fitness and exercise and things like that, and you want to get started with, like one device, this syncs to HealthKit And yeah, $46. It's like, it looks really big on my wrist, but then the Apple Watch Ultra looks really big as well. And it's honestly just the way that the cases work for this. You can also get like little clips to put it in, to like clip it to like a t-shirt or something if like wearing a wristband is not going to work for whatever you're doing. Obviously, it's not going to be able to use the sensors in the back to track stuff if it's clipped in like that. But yeah, there's options for this. So worth considering the Xiaomi Smart Band 7. This is the 7. There's also a 7 Pro and an 8. I just picked the 7 because it seemed like a cheap, good one that's widely available. And I'm pleased to report that if you just want a fitness tracking band, this is a good enough smartwatch to do that.
Awesome. Well, folks, there are loads of things that you can track in Apple's Health app, and then apps that integrate with Apple Health to make it easier to kind of not only keep your data, but sync your data and synthesize your data and understand your data. And it is only bound to get better from here. So we will, of course, be keeping an eye on that. But we would love to hear if there are gadgets that you have that integrate with Apple Health that you love. Let us know. iOS today at twit.tv. Apps that you use with health integrations. Let us know again. iOS today at twit.tv. Because these were just a few of the things that were available and the different products, gadgets, features that we wanted to talk about, particularly as we look forward to iOS 17 and more. Before we continue with the news, I do want to take a quick break to tell you about our second sponsor today. It's Brooklinen, who are bringing you this episode of iOS Today and who continue to bring me a great night's sleep. You know, you don't need to take a vacation to a faraway locale in an expensive hotel in order to have that luxury of a sort of, you know, incredible, comfortable, cooling night's sleep, because Brooklinen is here to keep you cozy or cool all summer long with their award-winning sheets and home essentials. I got the classic percale sheets because I am a very warm sleeper. They are very careful and selective in their process of choosing the type of material that they use for these sheets. And, you know, it's kind of wild how the conversation around sheets so often centers around thread count, because Brooklinen will tell you it's not about that. In fact, it is about the long strand fibers that Brooklinen uses. And they make these really high quality sheets that, for me, help me to sleep even cooler than I already was. And that's everything I could possibly want. Brooklinen is the perfect way to build your own indoor oasis to escape the heat. The options are endless. So, you know, it's easy to kind of get overwhelmed. You can do yourself the favor of simplifying that shopping by just bundling your bed, your bath, or perhaps both. You can save time and up to 25% when you bundle your new favorite home essentials. You're curious about the company. Brooklinen was founded by husband and wife duo Rich and Vicky in 2014. And what they were after was this idea of providing customers with hotel quality luxury bedding. And they do it in a way that is not breaking my bank, which that's everything I could ask for, honestly. I get to have this really nice bedding and it doesn't have to break the bank. Now, there's no such thing as perfect sleep, although I do try to come close. There is the ideal fabric for every kind of sleeper. You can cool off, as I do, with Brooklinen's crisp classic percale weave, or try their best-selling buttery smooth luxe sateen sheets. I know Leo is very happy with his sateen sheets. And Brooklinen uses only the highest quality materials for all of their products, such as I mentioned earlier, long staple cotton. So everything they create is built to last. See, with that, again, that long staple, you are getting resilient sheets as well. So as often as I have to wash these because I'm using them regularly, I don't worry about it because they are built to last. In Brooklinen, they're the internet's favorite sheets. Wirecutter, which is my go-to for figuring out what product I should buy, and Good Housekeeping both agree Brooklinen has best-in-class bedding. So if you need more evidence than their 100,000 five-star customer reviews, you know that experts from Good Housekeeping and Wirecutter have done the research. So shop in-store or online at brooklinen.com today to give yourself the cooling sleep you deserve this summer. Use the promo code iOS for $20 off your online purchase of $100 or more, plus free shipping on brooklinen.com. That's BROOKLINEN.com, and use the promo code iOS for $20 off plus free shipping. Thank you, Brooklinen, for sponsoring this week's episode of iOS Today. And thank you for a great night's sleep. All right, folks, we are back from the break. We talked about iOS health apps and features, and now it's time to talk about the news. The first bit of news that I wanted to talk about, Apple has announced a new kind of working group, or an alliance, as they call it, that is called the Alliance to Foster Global Collaboration for Universal Scene Description. That's AOUSD. Now, we have heard about USD-Z or USD-Z before. It is a sort of file format that lets you create kind of 3D objects that are easily shareable, easily kind of readable, and can be opened on different machines and different software, et cetera, et cetera. So Pixar, Adobe, Apple, Autodesk, and NVIDIA, depending on who you ask, together with the JDF, the Joint Development Foundation, which is an affiliate of the Linux Foundation, have all come together to announce the AOUSD. And their goal is to essentially kind of standardize and improve upon the USD tech that was created by Pixar. So USD stands for Universal Scene Description. And again, the idea is that there are lots of different formats out there, lots of different software out there, lots of different tools, and all of it kind of has to attempt to work together through translation layers and all this other stuff. And they want to say, look, why don't we all get together and focus on, as much as we can, a single kind of standard. And then that standard can go forward as the means that we all do that. I will read a little quote from here. It says, Universal Scene Description was invented at Pixar and is the technological foundation of our state-of-the-art animation pipeline. That, of course, is not of course, but that is from Steve May, who's the Chief Technology Officer at Pixar and also a chairperson of AOUSD. And then OpenUSD is based on years of research and application of Pixar filmmaking. We open sourced the project in 2016, and the influence of OpenUSD now expands beyond film, visual effects, and animation, and into other industries that increasingly rely on 3D data for media interchange. What does all of that mean? It means that Pixar, created this idea a while back, and as time has gone on, more and more folks, even those outside of those sort of traditional industries of animation, are using USD or OpenUSD technology. So, this is not a surprise to me. I imagine not a surprise to you either, Rosemary, given we have now seen Apple's headset, and the company, of course, has long now offered augmented reality experiences, and many of the event invites that folks get when they have those little built-in Easter eggs that offer an augmented reality experience for those event invites or event announcements. The root of that is a USD file. And so Apple, of course, has worked with other companies as well. IKEA, that app has USD files for each of the different sort of furniture that it shows in augmented space. So not a surprise.
No, not a surprise. And it's good to see that they are attempting to unify the standards. I'm sure many of the folks listening to or watching the show will be familiar with XKCD, the online comic of there are 14 competing standards. I'll create one unifying standard and we'll have that the third frame is there are now 15 competing standards. Hopefully, however, because they're basing this on things that already exist, and they are Apple and Pixar, pretty big names. IKEA is also pretty big as well. Then this will work out, and then we won't have competing standards. We'll just have a standard.
Yes, indeed. That is the hope. I did want to mention, parents out there, you are not alone. If you have been having issues with screen time on iOS, iPadOS, it is not just you. It is not just your device. It is a problem that Apple is actively working on. There's been reports that settings for screen time parental controls aren't sticking, and that kids are being able to bypass, not through any like special means. It's not like they've learned the code or something. It's just that the settings aren't saving and properly staying in place. And so if you've seen that, and maybe you thought your kid was doing some weird thing they learned on Reddit or what have you, not the case. Instead, this does appear to be a bug that is happening. And so Apple has said, look, we know that's going on, and we are, quote, or rather they say they are working, quote, to improve the situation. So a fix should be on its way. And as soon as that happens, well, then we'll talk about that too. Up next, I just wanted to quickly mention that Apple is rolling out the second public beta. So if you are on the public beta train, choo-choo, as I want to say, then be sure to stay up to date. Of course, any new public beta is going to come with fixes for issues in the last version of the beta, but it will also come with its own host of errors that you can check out and test out and make sure that everything's good to go by the time this software ships. Hopefully next month. If not next month, then sometime in early October. So yes, be sure to get those downloads in, get your feedback in, and make sure that those Apple developers are aware of what changes you'd like to see. And the last thing here, Google is creating its own Find My device network, like Find My on iOS. So Apple announced Find My, and it is the network of phones and iPads and Macs and everything working together to be able to track an item, including AirTags. Well, Google has its own version called Find My Device. And so it's a network that is working with a bunch of different Google devices out there. But Apple and Google have kind of gotten together to work on a standard, once again, this time for item tracking alerts. So that if an unknown tracker is present on your person, you can be notified about that. And the way that it has worked up to this point is you had to have on Android at least, is if you wanted to know about a tracker, an AirTag tracker that's not yours being on your person, you would have to get the Android or the app in the Google Play Store from Apple that will look around for unknown trackers. But with the standard in place, it essentially can work almost the same between iOS and Android. So on iOS, it automatically happens in the background and will alert you if there's a tracker on your person. With the updates to Android, now Android will alert you. But Apple has not locked in yet their side of things so that if an Android tracker is on your person, it will automatically notify you. And so Google is delaying the launch of its Find My Device network and its new trackers until Apple gets this software in place. So it'll be interesting to see. It's kind of a waiting game right now, how long it will take Apple to get these new features in place, this new standard in place, so that Google is able to release its own trackers, which is necessary. And so that is something that I'm kind of watching very closely to see how long it's going to take Google to do that. All right. That is the news. Let us move along to feedback and questions. In feedback and questions, Jim has written in to say, "Hi, Mikah and Rosemary. Love your show." Hi, Jim. Perhaps this is something you've previously covered and I missed it. At one time, if you found a paywalled Wall Street Journal article in Safari, you could tap the share icon and select, quote, "Open in News." Apparently, Apple removed that option from iOS, probably at the request of the journal and others who thought that discouraged subscribing from their own website. I have found some WSJ links on iOS that don't even allow the Open in Safari option. On the other hand, I have found at least certain WSJ articles on a Mac where the share icon does include the option Share in News. When I open this article on my Mac, the share icon does include Open in News. However, when I try to open the article on iOS, the share icon does not include the option to open in Safari or to open in News. Instead, it offers a ton of options, many of which are irrelevant, including Open in Fidelity, Twitter, LinkedIn, Lyft, just to name a few. I am wondering if a shortcut could be created that would convert links to articles on Wall Street Journal, like WSJ.com, to those articles in Apple News. I've had to resort to copying the headline of the WSJ article and then pasting it into the search field in Apple News. It works, but it's very tedious. Thank you. Best regards, Jim. So, I don't know about you, Rosemary, but this sounds to me like a context error. It sounds like Jim is maybe not being precise about from where they are getting the share sheet.
Yeah, so I had a look at this and I had to play around and I did manage to replicate the same issue that Jim's saying, which is sometimes there's an open in news option, sometimes there isn't. And essentially what happens is any website, so Twitter is a great example of this, can have a deep link. Okay, so a deep link means that it would open then in that app on your phone. And so it'll pop up depending on your preferences and settings. It might just have like a banner at the top, which has got like the app on it or something and like a little open button. And that's obviously what the Wall Street Journal would prefer. They want you to subscribe directly to them, give them all the money every month instead of taking a share of what they get from Apple's news program. And so they've probably deliberately removed the deep links for news in those articles that they personally think are going to be like super interesting to people and they want them only to be visible on the website for whatever reason. I don't claim to understand people's thought processes. I just kind of understand the tech behind it. So one of the things that I found that I was able to do is there's two options in your share sheet, right? When you go to share things, there's people, well, there's three sections. There's people at the top, unless you have that disabled in your settings. Then there's the colorful app icons as a horizontal row. And then there's the gray and white list, which has things like open in news, add to home screen, print, etc. Now, open in news is in that last list. And it's there some of the time, but as Jim found, not all the time. However, I found on those ones where it isn't there all the time, if I scroll across the colorful app icon list and I find news, and you can edit this list if you scroll right to the end of it and then tap on the triple dot there, then you can edit this so you can pull the news app further forward, which means that it will consider the news app to be more relevant for links and for things from the Wall Street Journal. Then I found that if I tap on the colorful app icon, it still seems to work for me. However, I don't have a Wall Street Journal subscription, and the link that Jim sent as a demo wasn't working for me. So I can't 100% guarantee it, but it does seem like tapping on the colorful app icon from the share sheet worked. And this is weird. I don't understand the logic behind this, but it does seem to work. I don't know. Can you try it, Mikah? Because also I'm in the UK, so we don't get the same Wall Street Journal that you get.
Yeah, that's something that I will try. Although now I need the link to the article. So while we are testing that, I would say too that this could be this could also be a matter of and now I can't think of the words that I'm looking for. This could be a matter of the Wall Street Journal content management system. Either that I can imagine in the background, they've got, Apple News API and all this other magic that's happening. And some articles are getting automatically linked to their Apple News counterpart, which is what you were kind of talking about there, where it's got that deep link versus some that might not be. Okay, I have the link here. Let me see about opening it or sending it to myself on the iPhone. And we'll see if we can't.
One thing I'll mention while you're doing that, Mikah, is Apple News on the Mac is not quite the same as Apple News on iPhone and iPad. Now, Apple News on the Mac is much closer to Apple News on the iPhone and iPad than, say, Safari on the Mac is, or Mail. Mail on the Mac and Mail on the iPad are two completely different apps that happen to share the same name and icon. And Safari is much the same. I mean, there's deep down, there's a lot of commonality. They've got a lot of stuff syncing, but they're not the same app. News is much closer to being the same, but at the same time, macOS is different to iOS. So the way that the share sheet options show up on iOS and Mac will vary. And so you may find that sometimes this works on your iPad and it doesn't work on your Mac, or vice versa. And there's not a lot that can be done about that other than make sure that you're keeping up to date with things. Because the operating systems do work slightly differently, unfortunately, which makes it a little tricky to get everything working perfectly in sync.
I'm scrolling and I don't see news. Oh, there's
there
news.
it is, right below Tripsy.
And let's see. So I was able to get that working.
I found a workaround.
Yay!
Which seems to work. Yeah, the other option that I considered, which was kind of like my last resort, was you could create a shortcut that when you say like open it, like so you call it like open and use like and then like a little hack, like brackets hack or something, because this would be a hack. When you would share it to that, it would copy the name of the article and then open news for you, so you could just paste it in. And that was kind of be my hacky workaround, because the news app doesn't have shortcut support. But this does seem to work. So fingers crossed, this will solve the problem for you, Jim.
Yeah. So it just was buried for some reason, but if you go and find it, then you can get it.
I have a feeling this is due to the way that like Apple and the Wall Street Journal like negotiated whatever they were doing, where they were like, fine, we'll hide the open in news thing, but there still needs to be an option to open it in the news. So we're going to leave it there. It's just not going to be as obvious for people. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's wild. Huh. All right. The next bit of feedback comes from Steven. Steven writes in, we travel and we would like to keep a record of hotels, restaurants, and sites. We want to be able to create location tags on a map, be able to name the tag and add a bit of text. And when we open the map, we would see the world with our tags and be able to zoom in to see detail. We'd like the app to sync across our iOS devices, our phones, and our iPads. Maps Plus doesn't sync. City Maps to Go supposedly syncs, but it doesn't work. And we're happy to pay for subscriptions to apps that we like. It keeps them around. Thanks, Stephen. So looks like Rosemary and I both have a suggestion. The suggestion I will give to you is an app, or a service called Polar Steps. The reason I'm suggesting this is because this is what Leo Laporte uses for every trip that he takes. Polar Steps is exactly this. It's this idea that you use a map to kind of keep track of the places that you've been. It automatically will create little stories for you. And then what is also cool about Polar Steps is that afterward, if you'd like, you can create a travel book. You can basically buy a travel book from Polar Steps, and they'll send it to you printed. So you track your trip, you take photos and have them get posted along the way. There's a link that people can see and go to so that it's live updated. So Leo on their last trip shared a link with us, and we were able to kind of see where he was on the vacation, or on the journey rather. And so yes, it's great for like sharing with your family while you're out, but then also when you get back. And then at the end, the idea that you get to turn it into a book, and it has like the altitude you were at, the weather that day, what date it was, a little information about the place that you went, and then the photos that you took while you were there. So it's a very popular app, more than 5 million folks using Polar Steps. And it is, again, available in the App Store and syncs between devices, but it's also a website as well. That is my recommendation. And then, Rosemary, what is yours?
So my recommendation isn't quite as travel journal based as Polar Steps is. This is really down to stick a pen on a map, add some colorful flags to it, and you can optionally share lists with other people. And it works on iPhone, and it works on iPad, and it works on Android, and it works on the web. And the service is called Mapstr, Mapstr. So it's a free app to download and use. There is an optional premium subscription that you can sign up for, but you can stick pins on any location, stick your tags on those pins. You can rename those pins. You can share a list with friends. You can share a bigger list with friends. You've got all of the options. And then it also hooks into things like contact details of locations, opening hours, websites, etc. And it's also available on the Apple Watch. And what I really like about this is when you tag a place, you can actually have Mapstr give you the option, or Mapstr gives you the option to have it pop up as a notification on your device when you're going past somewhere that's tagged. So this is great if you like tag a whole bunch of restaurants that are recommended in a city, and then you have it pop up, and then you're wandering around and you're like, I'm hungry, oh well, this restaurant's really close by, it just pinged me to say, well, this is here, go for it. Or of course you can just use GPS and open up Mapstr and see what's there. But I found it especially useful when I'm sightseeing, because you bookmark a bunch of places on a map, you look stuff up online, and then when you're there on the ground, you kind of get focused on like, I'm going over here to see this thing, and you forget there's other stuff on the way. And travel's all about the journey and the experience. So this is a very useful way to be able to keep track of that. I have to say, one tip that I'll give you, whatever app or service it is that you end up using for this, I end up having a do not return tag. This is for hotels that performed significantly under expectations, restaurants where you spent 3 hours waiting for service and you still didn't get food. And when you eventually got food, the ice cream was boiling hot and the lasagna was frozen. Whatever it is, I have a do not return tag, which obviously I then, that's not one that I would actively share with friends, but it is a reminder to me that, hey, this place that I thought was really cool, I've tagged it as a thing not to go back to, because I didn't enjoy it. So there we go. That's my recommendation, Mapstr.
All right. Now, before we head into the app caps, here is a little message from our sponsor.
Hey there, folks. Get ready for the Backbeat Media Podcast Network, your new go-to place for top-notch podcasting fun. You're an Apple fanboy or fangirl? We've got you covered with the Cultcast, delivering all the iNews you could ever want. More of a literature lover? Bookworm is going to rock your world. Got a thing for theater? Broadway radio is going to hit you right in the feels, while Mac Geek Gab and MacCast are here to feed all your tech cravings. Punk rock your vibe? You're going to vibe so hard with Jughead's Basement. And for all the dinosaur nerds out there, I Know Dino is basically your spirit animal. But hold up, all about that mental health, pop culture, and tech life, Christina Warren and Brett Terpstra are serving up your weekly dose. Love a good flying tale? Fig and Repeat are about to take your imagination to new heights. And hey, to all you small business gurus out there, Dave Hamilton and Shannon Jean are dropping knowledge bombs every week. Backbeat Media Podcast Network, folks. It's where your passions come alive and there's never a dull moment. Hit up backbeatmedia.com and get ready to binge.
And now it is time for the app caps. Play that funky music. This, of course, is the part of the show where we wear caps or other items atop our heads to honor our app and or gadget picks of the week. These are the apps or gadgets we are using now or have been using for some time that we think are great and want to share with all of you. So without further ado, Rosemary Orchard, tell us about the cap atop your head and then tell us about your app or gadget pick of the week.
Well, the cap atop my head, it's a hat. It is a plastic hat from my selection of cowboy party hats that I purchased this week. It is a lovely, neon yellow zebra stripe. Yes, I believe I got all of the neons in zebra stripe and leopard print. There's a few still to go, folks, that you haven't seen yet, even if you think you have before. It also has the advantage of making my hair static, like I've been using a Van de Graaff generator. So that's super cool. But that's fine. And even though my iPhone is not playing ball this week and my iPad won't play ball either to share the screen, I can still tell you about my app cap, because I was a backer years ago on Kickstarter for the KeySmart. And the idea was that instead of having this huge bundle of keys, you'd stack all your keys together in this nice little vertical thing. And then you just pop out the one that it is that you wanted to use. Great. Loved it. Backed it. Got a couple, use it, and I still use one of the original ones actually on the keys for my parents' house. But the pick that I have this week is because ages ago, KeySmart launched the KeySmart Pro, which had tile tracking technology built in. And then Apple came out with like AirTags and Find My, and I was like, that's it. I'm not bothering with tile anymore. Bye tile. And now there is the KeySmart iPro. So this comes in choice of rose gold or black. And that's it for your color options. And this is a rechargeable key tidy with Find My tracking built in. So this is Find My tracking without the, like immediate proximity, like point your iPhone over here. No, it's a bit more to the left. You can make it ring and it's in this map location. But I have to say, I find that the map location plus the ringing works really well for me. And the KeySmart Pro is just a nice way to store your keys. Now, I haven't put my keys on here yet because I'm actually going to put my parents' keys on here because my keys are like fob and sort of tag based, so they don't quite work with this. But I love this. It's got a little light built in on the end, so if I press a button, then I can get a light, and that's a great one for like your door key, so that like when you're coming back and like there's awkward lighting or the bulb in your porch or hallway has gone out or it's just not lighting things up properly, you can shine this so you can actually see where you're pointing the key to connect it. My only quibble / complaint about this is the recharge mechanism. So the recharge mechanism works, just to be clear, it's fine. But if I take off the little gummy, which is there to help stop any water or muck and fluff getting in, folks might see if they've got an eagle eye. Yeah, that's micro USB, not USB-C.
Oh,
I really wish this
micro.
were USB-C. Yeah, but the thing is it is exactly the same as their KeySmart Pro, which has got tile technology built in. It's just got a different chipboard inside. So I understand why it's micro USB. I hope that they launch a USB-C one sometime soon. I have to say, this rose gold color is kind of a champagne-y rose gold. It's not super pink. I really like it. It's nice. And I've had a KeySmart Pro before, and I had it in like the original white, which did end up marking. And then I got another one later, which had this kind of finish on, and it didn't mark. So I love it. It's got like a built-in loop with a bottle opener on one end. And then while I was there with the KeySmart store, they also recommended, unfortunately, I just dropped the smaller one on the floor, a key dangler. A key dangler, like you connect it to your KeySmart, and then you can just like hook this onto like a loop in your bag or like a pocket in your bag or your belt loop or something so that your keys don't wander off. So yeah, this is the KeySmart iPro rather than KeySmart Pro. And I have to say, I'm really enjoying it. I can't wait to put my parents' keys on it so that I will actually know where they are for the times I actually take them out of my car to use them and then don't put them back. And yeah, then it gets messy very, very fast. So yeah, you can put quite a few keys on there. It's got a little loop so you can attach it to like a lanyard or a car key or both. And there's a whole bunch of accessories that you can get for it as well. So worth checking out just to see what this is. And if you do need a key tracker, well, one with a built-in torch and tracking seems like a pretty good idea to me.
I agree. All right. The cap atop my head is a pilot's cap, like an old school pilot's cap. It's actually surprisingly warm, and so I can't wait to take it off. It's a dark leather cap, and it's got straps and whatnot. It's also hard to hear with it. But the app that I want to talk about today is a new app that just came to Apple Arcade, which of course requires a $4.99 per month subscription, or you can get a month free if you buy a new device of certain kinds, or you can get it as part of a larger Apple subscription. There are many ways you can get Apple Arcade. But if you like Animal Crossing, you might want to check out Hello Kitty Island Adventure. It is, oh, look, it's two of me. I don't want that. There we go. So Hello Kitty Island Adventure. I mean, even the artwork looks pretty Hello Kitty-y, if you will. But I will tap play here. And you can see it says furniture is functional. Use a mirror to change your clothes or sleep in a bed to affect the time of day. This is supposed to be a life sim in Apple Arcade and, of course, involving Hello Kitty. I have to be honest, I didn't realize that the cat's name was fully Hello Kitty. I thought that you were saying hello to the cat's name that was Kitty. So that's a new thing I've just learned. Are you ready for our vacation at Big Adventures Park? Yes, or I can't wait. I'm going to choose I can't wait. I'm feeling very enthusiastic. It says we should be arriving soon. So if you want to freshen up a bit, now is the time. So now I create my little creature. I've got the choice between a bird, a cat, or a dog. I'm sure you can guess which one I'm going to choose. Indeed, a dog. And then I can choose a different type of dog. So there are all sorts here, and I think I'm going to choose a little dog. You can choose the dog's eyes, and oh my, there are some kind of angry dogs here. I don't want an angry dog. I think I want this dog. Oh, someone's telling me that the cat's name is Kitty White. So that's interesting. And then I'm going to do a tiny little tongue there. And then I can change the sort of pattern of the dog. And I will choose a triangular pattern. And then last but not least, you can choose the colors. Well, that's the only one that features green. So I'm going to choose that one. And then Kitty White says, you look great. We still have some time. Why don't you meet some of the others joining us on our trip? And I can see a penguin. That's so cool. And so you press down to move and you tap to jump. So there's a little joystick. Oh my, it lets me jump on a plane. That's not safe. So I can move around and see some of the other people on the, or not people, but creatures. I want to talk to the penguin, obviously. Greetings and salutations, says Tuxedo Sam. Tuxedo Sam at your service. And I can say, nice to meet you, or an honor and a pleasure, good sir, which is, of course, what I'm going to say. Making a new friend is always delightful and quite inspiring. You see, I'm both a designer and collector of bow ties. So if you need help putting together an outfit on this trip, please don't hesitate to ask. Nothing makes me happier than helping my friends look their best. If you'll excuse me, I feel inspiration about to strike. And so Tuxedo Sam sits back down and I guess thinks about the inspiration that they're going to have. And then, of course, there's a little frog. And so I'll talk to the little frog. Hi, are you having a fun flight? It's been great, or I'm a little bored. I'm going to say it's been great. This is actually my first time on an airplane. I thought I would be nervous, but it's not so bad with my friends around. Anyhow, it was nice meeting you. I'll see you around the island. I will have you note that Karapi did not tell me their name, but instead just said hello. I will leave it at that. This kind of gives you an idea of how the game works, but it is essentially, as I mentioned, a way to play kind of an RPG that's a bit of a life sim as well. And so it's a very kind of simple game to play both on your iPhone or your iPad, and be able to kind of create a little area that you can. Are you sure you want to quit to the main menu? Yes, I am sure. And you, again, if you've ever played Animal Crossing, I think that you will find some familiarity here in Hello Kitty Island Adventure. I wanted to note this game was important enough that Apple actually announced it in its newsroom. So there's an actual article, join Hello Kitty and friends on a charming island adventure on Apple Arcade. And so they felt this was worth discussing on the Apple newsroom page. So yeah, consider checking it out. Let me know what you think about it. That is Hello Kitty Island Adventure. It's part of Apple Arcade. Folks, that brings us to the end of this episode of iOS Today. All that's left is to tell you, if you have questions, feedback, concerns, comments, etc., send those to iOStoday@twit.tv. iOStoday@twit.tv. We love to hear from you. If you want to tune in live to watch us record the show starting around 9 a.m. Pacific each week, well, tune in every Tuesday at twit.tv/live, where you can watch the show and YouTube Live, Twitch, etc., or consider subscribing to the show or following the show by going to twit.tv/iOS. There, you will find the website where you can click to subscribe to audio or subscribe to video. Those formats are both available across a number of podcast apps and other methods. So if you're just a plain old RSS, well, we've got that too. Please do consider telling your friends about the show. If they are coming to you asking questions about iOS or iPadOS or one of the other OSs, well, you've got a friend in us, and we would be happy to help you help your friend. So tell them about the show so that they can ask us for help with their issues. I want to mention Club Twit, which you can join by going to twit.tv/clubtwit. Starting at $7 a month or $84 a year, you out there can join the club. When you do, you get a lot of great stuff. First, you get every single Twit show with no ads, because you, in effect, are sponsoring or supporting the shows. So you get all of the content, none of the ads. You also get access to the Twit Plus bonus feed that has extra stuff you won't find anywhere else, behind the scenes, before the show, after the show. Special Club Twit events get published in the club. It's a great thing to be able to be a part of and get to go through a backlog of so much great stuff. Plus, you get to join the Club Twit Discord. It is a fun place to go to chat with your fellow Club Twit members and those of us here at Twit. My co-host, Rosemary Orchard, is an incredibly active member of the Club Twit Discord and would love to see you there. On top of all of that, again, starting at $7 a month or $84 a year. And by the way, I'm saying starting at, not because it's a tiered system, but because we give you the ability to pay more if you'd like, because we've heard from some folks who said, you keep adding things and I'm only paying $7 a month. I want to give you more. So you can. Joining the club also gets you access to special Club Twit shows that are only available to members of the club. There is the Untitled Linux Show, a show all about Linux. There is Hands on Windows, which is a short format show from Paul Thurrott that covers Windows tips and tricks. There's Hands on Mac, which is my show. That's also a short format show covering Apple tips and tricks, Mac, iOS, etc. And access to Home Theater Geeks, the show from Scott Wilkinson that covers all things home theater. Soon, there will also be a show in the club from Jason Howell that covers all things AI. Looking forward to learning more about that and seeing that show or hearing that show very soon. So that is also available in the club. Again, these are Club Twit exclusives, so you got to join the club if you want to hear these great shows and check them out each week. Please join the club. We'll see you in the Club Twit Discord. I can't wait. twit.tv/clubtwit. Rosemary Orchard, if folks want to follow you online and check out all the great work you're doing, where should they go to do so?
The best place to go is rosemaryorchard.com, which has links to the things that I do around the internet, podcasts, books, apps, all those things. And of course, you can also find me on various social media sites linked from my website. I'm most active at rosemary@snailed.social on Mastodon or in the Club Twit Discord. And as always, don't forget, you can get in touch with the show at iostoday@twit.tv, which is the best place to send those emails, because otherwise I kind of have to do some fancy automation-y stuff. And yeah, just send it into iostoday@twit.tv or contact the iOS Today handle on the Twit Mastodon server if you are if you fancy tweeting us at us. That's an option as well. What about you, Mikah?
Indeed. You can find me at Mikah Sargent on many a social media network, or head to chihuahua.coffee. That's CHIHUAHUA.coffee, where I've got links to the places I'm most active online. So I'd love to have you head there and follow me on different social media networks, or just check out the podcasts I do. It's all there on that site. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in this week. I hope we helped you get excited about some different health apps and features that are out there. Can't wait to hear which health apps and features you are using, which ones we inspired you to check out, and everything in between. Rosemary and I will be back next week with another great episode of iOS Today. Until then, though, it is time to say goodbye. Goodbye, friends.
Hey, we should talk Linux. It's the operating system that runs the internet, a bunch of game consoles, cell phones, and maybe even the machine on your desk. But you already knew all that. What you may not know is that Twit now has a show dedicated to it, the Untitled Linux Show. Whether you're a Linux pro, a burgeoning sysadmin, or just curious what the big deal is, you should join us on the Club Twit Discord every Saturday afternoon for news, analysis, and tips to sharpen your Linux skills. And then make sure you subscribe to the Club Twit exclusive Untitled Linux Show. Wait, you're not a Club Twit member yet? Well, go to twit.tv/clubtwit and sign up. Hope to see you there.